You're listening to The People's Pitch, the official podcast of Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by footballstadiumprints.com. Let's start the show.
And as I talked about just a couple minutes ago, as Joe Watt stands over this one, he appears to be the one taking the penalty here. This is a huge confidence booster if you're Duluth.
Worst case scenario for City right here.
And it stopped! Yes! And it stopped!
Totally redeems himself.
Matt Elder redeeming himself. Oliver with the right foot. The shot is goal!
Oliver!
Justin Oliver will break the scoreless tie. And it is 1-0 Minneapolis City. Is Hutton now on the offense with the left foot. And it is now 2-0 Minneapolis City.
Good finish.
Nick Hutton taking his quick victory lap.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, friends of the feather. I am John Bisworm, your host of the People's Pitch podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club. I am joined by my partner in crime, the Nate Morales. Nate and I had grandiose hopes of having an awesome episode this week that not only covered 3 soccer games, but also had the one, the only owner of Tulsa Athletic, the Sonny Dalesandro, on with us. But in just getting off recording our interview with Sonny, we have decided that there's just too much gold and too much to talk about, that we are dropping a mini episode for you in between what we normally have in our regularly scheduled programming. So stay tuned for our official episode to talk through the USL League 2 matchup against the Legends and two futures matchups from this past week. So once again, I am John. That was Nate, who didn't really say anything, but he's on, I promise. We'll be back to you in a matter of hours, folks, with a full episode. But until then, please enjoy our conversation with Tulsa Athletic owner and the man with the shiny spotlight from the NPSL shine on him because the league is saying that his field is not compliant. That is the Sonny Dalesandro. So enjoy.
Last week, we started off the show discussing what the hell is going on with the NPSL and the stadium situation down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And if you haven't listened, please press pause and listen to it and then come back to this very moment. And backstory complete. Good job. If you didn't pause, here's the situation. The NPSL is on their bullshit again. We can say that now. But the story goes that starting around the time of the NPSL playoffs last season, the heads of the league started to plant the seeds that Hicks Park, where Tulsa Athletic play their home matches, and as we discussed in the show, is maybe one of the gold standards for a DIY pre-professional club across the country. Hicks Park was not compliant per NPSL standards and practices. And then, of course, less than a month ago, as we covered last week, things really came to a head when the NPSL officials dropped the hammer. This was just days before the Athletic were set to host their first league match of the season, and they then had to scramble to find a new facility at basically hour zero. We're pleased this week to welcome the man, the myth, the legend, the Sonny Dalesandro, owner of Tulsa Athletic, to talk about what's been going on. Sonny, man, how the heck are you? And what is going on? Last time we saw you, you and me and John were down in beers down in beers up here. And I think you and John have since, hung out in Kansas City at a Hooters, something like that. I don't know. but what's up, man? How have things been, all things considered?
I had to shit in a cowboy hat, Nate. Things aren't great down here.
They make you do that in KC?
No, that's an Oklahoma tradition. I told John we would get into this first because I think it's where the real good stuff is. I think I may have some sort of tick-borne illness. So they're doing like blood work. So I've been feeling like really terrible lately and kind of trying to battle through this. But and they make you shit in this like really tiny little party cowboy hat. And really, guys, it's all I want to talk about on this episode. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You might have just gotten scammed by someone who's
was it in a white van, or where were you sitting in this cowboy hat?
I like to
Backstage?
think that at the office they give it to you, and when you like return, like, did you do that in the hat? And they've got like a whiteboard. They're like, yeah, he did it. Put it under the guy did it.
He did it. Give me $10.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a party favor from a 7-year-old birthday.
Dang.
Yeah. So what were we talking about?
Well, I mean, just otherwise, besides the hat shitting.
Well, I mean, all things can. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's get started with the official club statement, right? Like, let's Sonny, just we don't want you to have to put it in your own words. I think Tulsa Athletic has probably carefully crafted a statement that is in compliance with all public relations best practices. So let's have John read that, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right. So the official club statement that was put out just under a month ago goes as follows. We regret to report that Tulsa Athletic has been required to move venues due to community field at Hicks Park being deemed, in quotes, not to meet minimum standards by the NPSL. The decision is presently under appeal as we and 8 independent assessors, 5 conference members, OSA, which I assume is the Oklahoma Soccer Association, FC Tulsa of USL League One, and U.S. Soccer Open Cup Commissioner showed that the venue met and or exceeded current league minimum standards. The full list of league minimum standards are as follows. Minimum standards for NPSL hosting: a closed stadium, not an open park or a park with temporary enclosures. Seating for up to at least 500 people. Field size must measure a minimum. We don't need to go into that. You know what that is if you're a soccer fan. Locker rooms for visiting teams. Showers on site for visiting teams, and a working PA. We have built an outstanding team this year, and we are looking forward to competing on the field. We have until May 15th to find a field. Long term, we feel our home at Athletic Community Field at Hicks Park, and we'll continue to invest time, money, and resources to develop the venue. It is a great little stadium, and we are impacting a great community through the sport of soccer through the facility. Those are the pillars of our club, and your support is, as always, cherished. We do plan on playing some friendlies at Athletic Community Field at Hicks Park this year. That and other details will become available the second they are known. So that is the official club statement. So if you did what Nate said and you paused and you heard us talk about things, that's official. Now we'll get into some questions.
Yeah, Sonny, for those of us like myself who haven't been down to Tulsa to see a game, can you describe the setup at Hicks Park for us?
Yeah, so Hicks Park is a park kind of in East Tulsa, and where you drive in, there is a gate that's locked after like 11 p.m. It's like other parks. There's like a community center, like a rec center where kids play basketball, and there's pickleball in there, and there's a gym. There's like locker rooms with 4 showers, which is that's adjacent to where we play. Where we play is a sectioned off, fenced in facility. It's got like an 8-foot tall fence around it. And then there is like a concession stand and bathrooms. And between those is like a big sliding metal gate. So it's very much like you would English 8th or 9th division setup. When you walk in, the sliding metal gates open, you walk through, you got your bleachers that are next to the field. We seat about 625 total. This past off season, there was like an old baseball backstop, and we took all the fence off of it in, maybe the unsafest way possible. I'll send you guys a video of me. We're like, oh, that's need a fucking permit for that guy.
Yeah, OSHA approved.
Right. So we took the fence down, and then we sawed all of the metal down, and we built like a top rail along the field, like you see in the lower leagues in Europe. So these are just steps that we're going to continue to take to make it more and more a soccer specific stadium. But that's what it is right now, is it's a little soccer specific stadium, and we control the venue, which I think a lot of people at this level would be really envious of not having to call the athletic director at a high school or something like that in order to see what scheduling looks like. You want to play us at 2 a.m. on a Thursday. It's like, we'll turn the lights on, like off we go. So, it's a great little setup. Like I said in the statement, we're going to continue to develop it. It's going to be where our home is in the long term future.
Does anyone else play there, or is it all Tulsa Athletic related?
It's all
teams?
ours. Yeah, it's all ours. We had a few high schools reach out because they were having stadium issues and said, "Hey, can we play at your stadium?" But the field was a priority for us this year, because if there was a knock on it last year, and I'm certainly open to it, is that the surface, which had basically sat dormant for 25 years, wasn't up to a good standard. So I actually aerated it 2 directions today, and even though it's game day somewhere else tomorrow, putting some fertilizer down, and just continuing to bring the quality of the grass up to scale. And it's good right now. Like, the boys trained there last night, and it's solid.
The first time we had you on the show, you described kind of the DIY nature of how you got started in the league, and how you were out there passing out flyers and selling tickets, and all of a sudden you had a surprise sellout. Now, that wasn't at Hicks, right? You're only more recently a tenant, or you only more recently have come into ownership of Hicks Park.
Yeah, so we leased Hicks through the Parks Department and the city of Tulsa. Our last venue was just an open park. Like, in fairness to the league, and maybe they're just like confused.
Watching some old tape.
Yeah, I mean, when we had an 11,000 seat stadium at one point, but the story is so stupid. So we had this 11,000 seat stadium with offices and locker rooms and laundry room and training facilities and everything, and we lost it in like a vote. They voted to bring the BMX national headquarters to Tulsa, but there was like not even a deal in principle done. So they tore the stadium down, and then BMX was like, "We never agreed anything," so they went elsewhere. Meanwhile, they had torn down the stadium. So we're like, "Oh, fuck."
BMX, so like the bikes?
Yeah. Yeah, so apparently Tulsa's like a huge hot spot for that. They did actually open, like, the national headquarters is here, and there's I haven't been or anything, but you can see it from the expressway when you're driving, and it looks pretty neat. So we played 1 year in a high school, and again, not to knock that play in high schools. I know Minneapolis City's played there before, and there are obviously many, many clubs around the country that do it, but we are a club that, like to have a beer. They like to drink a beer while they watch the match. We like to have, food butted up next to the field. Like, we like to create a certain kind of culture as part of our match day experience. And a high school was never going to be it. So my business partner and I said, why don't we play at this park called Veterans Park? And it's got a really cool soccer history. Like, his and I's first soccer practice when we were 5 years old was there. The old NASL teams used to train there before they would play the Tulsa Roughnecks. So, like, Cruyff and Beckenbauer had, like, played on this park.
Wow.
And it was an open park. Like, the idea was, let's just be this neighborhood club, and we'll kind of rope off the field. Food trucks will come up to it. We'll get like a Waymatic with beer in it. We'll have as well. And people tents and brought chairs. And it was like a Sunday fun day. There were no lights or anything. So we were definitely deficient in minimum standards. But the teams in our conference got it. They're like, hey, this is cool. We get what you're doing. Your fans are into it. We support this.
What's an atmosphere?
It was, and I think at our level, there's time for that. Like, there's a place for that. Some of our supporting comments have lent themselves to, like, hey, first time we saw, like, maybe it was Tallahassee, like, we just brought our chairs and sat next to a rope, and it was fantastic. So, like, I think that's awesome. As we would get a little, like, deeper in the playoffs, I think we were starting to run into some issues of, Miami FC didn't want to play us in a park when they've got like a $1 million payroll.
Yeah, once you're a little more visible.
Yeah, and just speaking honestly on the business end of things, there was really no way to recoup money there. So the city reached out and said, hey, we've got a couple of parks that have like fenced in facilities that might work for you guys. So we went out and looked at Hicks, and it's there, man. Like it's definitely a work in progress. But when we got there, it was definitely a work in progress. But there was like bleachers laying around. Move all those over to one side. We'll move our shipping containers in. We built a press box that has like our step and repeat in the corners. Got sound foam. It's got like a little area for new players to get their picture taken. Up top has railing. So we filmed from about 30 feet high, which gives a nice vantage point for the matches. And just started, greening the place up. We painted the concession stands, the bathrooms. They've got pinstripes on them like our kits. So, we just started the process of making it like this very Tulsa Athletic centric venue, as well as like the league standings are up there. Like there's a standings board with the NPSL's crest, just stuff that you would see maybe if you went to, like I said, a small grounds overseas, but you don't see it too often in the United States. And for people like yourselves, and there are club owners around the country that are like, honestly, like kind of jealous of it. They're like, we would love to control our venue.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Not pay just an absolute ton for it. Go into a place where the city asked us to go into and have positive community impact. Like that's the language that a lot of us speak. So that's what Hicks Park or athletic community field at Hicks Park is it's basically growing our club into a club-centric stadium piece by piece.
So take us back to last year during the playoffs when the rumbling started to happen that the league may not be pleased with the standards of Hicksfield. Like, how did that go down? Was it kind of a shot across the bow that something you didn't expect was going to happen, or was it something that you thought could maybe happen sometime in the year and just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop?
No, I mean it kind of caught us off guard just because like we knew the surface wasn't good, but like I said, our conference had played the entirety of the regular season there. That, and not to skip back, but in 2013 when we got this old baseball stadium, it was the worst grass. It had 5 years of thatch just laying on it, so the surface was bad. But in 2014, we probably had, I would say one of the top natural surfaces in the country, just because the time and effort that we put into it. So we have a track record of going into places, and if it's grass, grass grows. If you give grass attention and you put it on a good plan, like you'll get a surface. So that was a goal for this. But yeah, it just it was before the Laredo. I think they said like 24 hours before the Laredo game. Like Laredo had already gotten on the bus. They're like, we were like, what do you mean? Why? They're like, well, it's an open park. We're like, well, we can't move it. They like Laredo's on their way. So they planted the seed there, and maybe we should have like put our foot down there and said, hey, like it's not an open park. Like define what an open park is, so that we can change what your perception of an open park is. But it was a regional semifinal, and we didn't want to disrupt too many things, so we played the match. After that, we went to Jacksonville and got a result there to win the regional championship. So we then hosted the national semifinal, and that's when they're like, you can't play there. You have to find another venue.
Like, watch us.
I mean, looking back, like it would have been interesting just to be like, nah, we're not playing here. Like, I don't know how that shakes out. and
I got a pretty good idea how that shakes out.
It doesn't really do any good to speculate.
Yeah.
So, we moved. We lost the game to Motown, and then the next day, the director of officials for the league, was a Tulsa guy, said that, who had kind of been like calling around and to the park, like to the park's facility, being like, "Hey, are there bleachers? How many does it seat?" And that, just kind of fishing around a little bit. And I was like, "Look, if you want to come look at it, call me. You have my number. I'll meet you down there." And he called, and I met him down there the day after we lost the national semifinals. So not in the best.
You're in a pretty good mood.
We're in a great mood. And the first thing he says, "Oh, I wish you guys still played at that old stadium." I was like, "Oh, that 11,000 seat stadium with all the amenities? Me fucking too."
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, BMX.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we housed players in the offices. Like, we had a couple of offices that we converted into like little apartments. I mean,
Jeez.
it had everything. Like, it was unbelievable. So I was like, yeah, I wish we played there too. We don't. I can't undo it. This place is going to be sick. And I think he took 2 pictures, one of some bleachers and one of the grass. Those are the only 2 that the league have shared with us, at least. And, to the best of my knowledge, and I sat on the board for 6 years, but grass is not in the bylaws, and
Yeah.
we're committed to fixing it. And the bleachers, well, we seat 500, which is a minimum standard, and we seat 500. So, yeah, after that, my business partner spoke to the managing director of the league, and she just said, "Well, yeah, it's my decision. You play it in an open park." We're like, and then he spoke to the chairman of the league, and the chairman said, "Give me a call. We'll see what we can do." So we tried unsuccessfully to get a hold of the chairman. We kept going back and forth with this decision, and then they just like made this ruling. And when we appealed it, the managing director said she wasn't available to be a part of conversations anymore, even though they've reached out to my business partner. I've kind of removed myself, or been removed from all of these conversations directly with the league. So I'm just going off of what the email communications said that have been shared with me. But yeah, so it came to a head, and then we they basically said if we didn't move after we played our first game, we had until the 15th to declare a new venue, or we would be put on hiatus for a year. Like, the league would put us on hiatus. So
And
yeah.
correct
So
me if
that's-
I'm wrong in my assumption here, but outside of all of this, I believe I know the answer, but Tulsa Athletic is in good standing with the league from a dues perspective, like other full compliance. It's just really this odd stadium situation that they handed down.
Yes. Yeah, that's accurate. That's accurate. And I can't say too much on specific things. But and I would never throw another club under the bus. That's not what this is about. But when you look, people who have been around the league for a while have an understanding that, hey, some clubs play at like a fenced-in area at a youth soccer park. One of the examples I brought up was the managing director was in charge of New York Athletic Club in our league, and they don't meet minimum standards. They have seating for maybe 50. They've got benches along one of the sides that's elevated, and part of the fence is completely open to the hills that wherever Nyack plays. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with all of those scenarios. I think it's great. I think that on its best day, the NPSL is a really wonderful platform for teams to express their vision of how soccer can be done through the platform. And
Yeah.
when I sat on the board, was a huge proponent of that. I probably signed more waivers for clubs than any board member in the past, just because if you were getting traction in your community with soccer and your field was 2 yards too narrow, it was always like, well, let me ask the rest of the conference, but I'll lobby for you, and let's get it done. I remember Jonathan, Little Rock Rangers, calling me, shitting himself because he was like, our field's too narrow. I was like, it's a 55,000 seat stadium. You're going to play there. It's going to be fine. Let me make some calls. You guys have sold it. There's no way in the world I would go against a club that is getting traction in their community to bring that down. And, I do see it through their lens a little bit of you can't, like where we were playing at Veterans Park, where we just were roping it off or whatever. That there's a shelf life on that. And, if they came to me and said, hey, guys, we kind of have a little more than a rope around the field. Can you get a deal done with your city? We require X, Y, and Z. Like, I understand that. Where we're at now meets all of those minimum standards.
Is the thing with them, or at least what you think, like they don't think you can actually seat 500 people, and that it's just people standing at the touchline basically, because there's not enough of a barrier? I mean, is that the situation that you feel like the league must assume happens at games?
Well, the one exercise I've really started to engage in is trying to not speculate what the league thinks. To answer your question, though, Nate, like we seat over 500, we seat 625, maybe more. The FC Tulsa game, we brought in bleachers for probably another 100, and then there is some standing room. To remedy the rope around the field, we built a metal top rail out of the old reclaimed backstop that we saw down.
That's a barrier.
So, like, any issues that they have, like, trust me, they're probably more issues to me than they are the league. Where there's this gray areas, they haven't acted in good faith, in my opinion, to expanding on what an open park is. Like, if you say we play in an open park, then what is that? Like, what is an open park? Is it you need an 8.5 foot tall fence? We need to add a half foot to our fence that encompasses the entire facility in which we play in, or like be a good partner to us as the league. And what I mean by that is, like, elaborate on where we are deficient so that we can have a game plan in fixing that. We have a track record that's arguably unrivaled in this country. We removed 9 fucking sections of a stadium to get 7 more yards in. It was a $100,000 project. When I look back at it, I'm like, you're insane.
That's a lot of spaghetti to sell, man.
It's a lot of plates.
Yeah, a lot of meatballs.
It's a lot of scuttle. All so that we could move from 103 to 110 so that we could host Open Cup games there. We hosted 1 Open Cup game there. Oklahoma City Energy,
Sweet.
2014. So, like, point being is if they could elaborate and say, here's what you need to do with this facility so that it's compliant in our eyes, fine. We can either agree or not agree on whatever that is, or allow another body or entity to interpret whether that's fair or not. But just to say, hey, that's an open park. Try walking in. If it's an open park, I'll tell you what. Come to Tulsa when we're playing a game, stand outside and try walking in. Because you can't walk through an 8-foot tall fence. Or you can walk through the metal iron gate that slides open with bars on it, and my mom will sell you a ticket. Like, so it's just elaborate on where we are deficient.
Yeah.
The NPSL's mission statement, it says to promote sustainability of, within the clubs and their membership and the NPSL membership. And I got to be honest, it's a fucking money we made last year. Like, we made in the hundreds of dollars, but we'd lost money for almost a decade straight since 2013 and 2014. So we found a little stadium, and we're actually able to turn a small profit, which is the unicorn on our crest in this business.
Right.
Yeah, that's what you need to do. You bring it up, Sonny, that like the mission is to create sustainable clubs, and that leads me to my next question that you mentioned. Also in the past, you served on the board, and I want to know, why does the squeaky wheel get the kick? What about the dynamic of how the NPSL is run makes them come after teams like Tulsa or Minneapolis City or maybe Detroit, teams that do well on the pitch, but might be a little goofy on socials? Maybe is it just a matter of like being too high profile, and so all of a sudden you have a lot of eyes,
or like taking the thunder away from the king that sits on the throne, kind of thing? Maybe I don't know.
I don't know. I would be remiss if I said I hadn't given that some thought. But again, like I touched on earlier, and let me be clear. Like, I've never seen in my time on the board, I've never seen discussion. I could probably say I've witnessed some biases that support what you're saying, and that's without any specific instances to bring up. So but like, had there be conversation where it's like, oh, we need to control this team. Am I saying that is possible? Maybe. There's not too, like I said, the exercise of not speculating what the league thinks is something for my own mental health that I really try and do. But like I said, as on my time on the board, I never heard any direct conversation that related to, like, this team is really blowing up.
This team is too cool for us.
Like, let's dial it back a little bit. Let's Lily White it up a bit.
Making us look bad, man.
Yeah. But I mean, when you read off a list of some of the teams, like, it does have the appearance of being a trend. So
let's read that list really quickly, Sonny.
Oh, God.
Let's talk about Chattanooga. Let's talk about Detroit City, Ann Arbor, Little Rock, Minneapolis City. That's a lot of teams that, like, do
Miami.
it right. Right? These are teams that
Asheville was a really cool
Asheville,
right? You go there, you watch a game,
Lacrosse
you follow them on social.
Lacrosse Eris.
But these are teams that do it right, and they end up on the sour side of the NPSL. They end up leaving. I know you say you don't like to speculate, but
in
from
my
your time on the board,
board,
what is the model club for the NPSL?
Yeah, I don't know.
Big and quiet.
I mean, I don't know. I will say this,
but not too successful.
I'll say this, that prior to me leaving the board, the attrition rate was a main concern of mine and a few others that sat on the board, and the way we handled it. Because I don't have an issue with losing teams. I do have an issue with there not being, some exit interviews. I think it's an opportunity to learn. At a bare minimum, right?
Yeah. Why are you leaving? And if the truth hurts, the truth hurts. But at least it's the truth.
Yeah. I think there's valuable data in that. So I was a proponent of having some exit interviews and some conversation and some dialogue with teams on leaving and why they were leaving, because within that, I think, lies the opportunity and the ability to improve things. That wasn't the reason I left the board or anything like that, but I certainly was a proponent of having hard conversations in order to gather data to make the entity stronger and better long term.
Well, like, from where we sit, like, we are no longer in the league, and like, I know that that my partner has more to say about the league and its ongoings, but I talked about it on our last episode. I always was kind of shielded from that because my responsibility until we had a full technical staff was the playing side.
Yeah.
But part of like this issue that you're running into from my perspective through my lenses is I've coached games in open parks where the other team's fans were behind our bench screaming at our players, where it was a very unsafe situation.
Right.
Like, literally no barrier.
I've
had situations where driving to an unnamed Wisconsin team, we get a phone call that the game's off because they don't have a venue, and we're literally in vans on the way there. And we're like, no, we're going to play at the venue that we were supposed to play at. Those are the things that I look at, and I was like, if you want to shine light at someone, it's those teams, because that's not part of the mission statement. You know what I mean? Like, it's not doing what the league wants it to do. That's not a community thing. It's not building the game. It's just another team that in my opinion, just pays their dues and doesn't say anything. And then everything gets like, maybe there's a turn in the other direction if something comes up. But
there's fuckery to be had around the league.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there is in every league, to be honest. But it just seems like when you're with if, an unnamed team again. If you're an unnamed team and you cancel on the way there, you forfeit upwards of like averaging 3 games a year. That's not a quality league member or a conference member that you want to be associated with or have to deal with. So I don't get this whole thing, man. I look at what you're doing, and I look at, I have yet to get there. I am going to get there. I hope to get there to Hicks Park the day that the redemption game, where
redemption tour.
I make a bunch of bootleg Tulsa Athletic redemption T-shirts and sell them in the parking lot. But I want to get there, and I want to be part of what you're doing there, and I don't see anything wrong with it. Yeah, maybe the league thinks it nuts to butts seating for 500 plus is not ideal. Well, tough shit. Like, look at this experience. It's awesome. People are having a good time. It's a community-based thing. This is my soapbox. I don't get it, but we don't have to talk about what I don't get. Your statement that you made said you had until May 15th, which is 2 days ago, based on the day we're recording this.
Yeah.
Have you? And we've seen that you found a place to play at Rogers State University.
Yep.
We also saw that it's a little bit of ways away from an ideal location for you.
It is.
So
yeah.
You have to pivot, and you have to now have another avenue for people with watch parties that's going to take away at the gate, and and ultimately help promote the game of soccer in the community. So have you gotten any word from your appeal? Is there a formal, like, in 30 days you're going to hear this, and then you have to go in front of Judge Judy, and then Judge Judy's going to pass you to Judge Mills Lane, and then that's like the Supreme Court decision? Like, what's going on with this?
Yeah, so I actually reached out yesterday just to say, hey, like, what does a timeline look like on this? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, like, our club's going to begin losing money tomorrow, and what would have been an opportunity for us to, like, I mean, we play a 10-game season, so 20% of our home games is tomorrow.
Right.
So that would have been, a decent chunk of revenue opening night at the park.
Coming off your Open Cup run, buzz is high.
Yeah, I mean, and to circle back, like, our stadium sat 1,700 people. We had 1,700 people there for when we played FC Tulsa. It was a brilliant evening. Not just the result. Like, had FC Tulsa scored a late one and came away victors, like, I would have left that night with a huge smile on my face, because we did it. Like, we delivered a huge night to a venue that had sat dormant, that we turned into a little stadium. My old man was selling Italian sausage sandwiches at, like, just behind the bleachers. My mom was selling tickets. Our GM's folks were in the concession stand. It was just one of those brilliant nights. And rather than be challenged, I want what we do to be used as like a blueprint for clubs around the country. Mm-hmm. I've given up on the once upon a time in 2013 we met with MLS and NASL and USL, because that's true, but that's not the hand that I ended up being dealt. But you know what, man? Like, if a guy from Salina, Kansas calls me tomorrow and says, "Hey, I saw what you're doing. My uncle's got 14 shipping containers and I got access to some land. Can you show me what you're doing?" That's what I want to probably be most impactful with in this country, with this game moving forward, is taking what we're doing, make it translatable and transferable to other markets, and bringing this game to smaller communities. Because you know what? Like, New York's going to have their teams. LA's going to have their teams. But fuck, man, if Salina, Kansas has a team and 1,500 people are coming out to watch
That's
matches,
fucking sweet.
that's impactful. Like, that's impactful. That, regardless of the system that is not the best in this country for not having vertical integration through clubs or a meritocracy, like, that to me is still being able to be impactful and bringing the game to communities where it doesn't already exist. So I want what we're doing to be viewed with the utmost respect of, like, this is a entry level way to bring this game to markets in this country. You don't need $1 million to do what we're doing. If you have $100,000, I can show you a great way to get started and a great way to approach, your city council person or your mayor or your local sports commission. I've had these conversations. There's value there. It's what we want to be. Like, we want to win on the field. We want to have trophies, and there's a part of our club that's dedicated entirely to that. But I learned a long time ago that no one remembers what the score was of us in Little Rock in 2016 away, but if you can be impactful in your community through the game of soccer, then, like, that's where the real wins are. So we want to be able to do that in our community, and we want to be able to take what we're doing and allow other people to see that so that they can be impactful in theirs.
Fucking A right, man. Sonny, you are one of the greats, and we wish you the best in your fight against tyranny. Next time you find yourself up I-35, you got to make sure to stop in, and we'll bong some beers out of a duck's ass again.
Well, yeah, or we can shit in the duck. I mean, we can party in all sorts of ways. I do owe you guys a trip up there. I mean, I have huge, massive thanks to John and to Dan and to Sarah and Nate. Sorry you weren't able to make it, but I mean, I literally, to this day, right now, I presently have goosebumps and, like, get all emotional thinking about just, like, some of my people that I genuinely love in this game, in this country, coming to my side for one of our club's biggest moments and just being, like, complete intolerable assholes the entire game. It was fucking perfect. It was perfect.
Yelling at designated players to take their ass back to Call Valley was probably my highlight.
Oh, you were all over him. It was awesome, man. It's a night that I will never forget. And having some of my best friends, not just in the game, but some of my best friends in the world, side by side, come in from out of town was so special. So yeah, I mean, a massive thank you to Minneapolis City and the people that surround that club. It's one of our great sibling clubs, and one magical day we will meet in a competitive, or not even a competitive match, but we will lock crow's beaks and unicorn horns for a match someday. And I
beak to horn, man. I've seen that video.
That's it.
I mean, I've always wanted to get a career appearance for Minneapolis City, so that seems like a really great match to do it in.
Yeah, I can be sent off in the first 5 minutes for bringing in illicit substances onto the field of play.
Yeah, hey, I mean, yeah, but you know what, Sonny? You'll do it on your own ground, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Well, thanks again, man. It's always great talking with you. I wish you the best of luck in whatever your shit-filled cowboy hat brings back to you. Hopefully, it's good news. And if there's anything that we can do besides blasting the airwaves with your message and garnering some support for one of the good ones, just let us know.
Appreciate you guys. I think you found the title for your episode right there as well. Shitting in a cowboy hat. So,
yeah, if you were reading our notes, it's starting out right now as It's Not Always Sunny.
I had a podcast called It's Always Sunny in Soccerdelphia, so this could be akin to that. But yeah, as always, boys, thanks for having me on. Be good. Good luck with the season. Get some results. I'll be following.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, man.
See you guys.
All right, bye.